Hey guys, we're here for our weekly video blog at Amen Real Estate. I'm really excited about today's topic. It's how to create a top producing agent from scratch with Jim Amen. And he's going to be sharing with us how he trains agents from scratch to be top producers. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Joe Ummaker and I spent 15 years in the IT industry. Then I spent 11 more years working as administrative director for a nonprofit. After that, I decided I wanted to work for myself, so I went through the Amen Real Estate Apprenticeship Program, and today I'm the team leader of our Elk Grove team.
Thank you, Joe, for having me here. I'm really excited to share again and see what we can come up with today.
All right, I think for today, I would just love to hear where you find agents to work for you and what motivates them to come work in your office versus working somewhere else. What do they have to do to get ready to start selling real estate? Maybe they weren't selling real estate before, or they're shifting from one company to a new company. And then what do they have to do from day one when they walk into the office? Training them on scripts? Who are they calling? Where do they get their phone numbers? What do they say? Should they buy marketing? Should they not buy marketing? And then all the way up until they can have a flourishing business for themselves under your Amen Real Estate brand. So my first question would be, what motivates someone to say, start selling real estate? What's the motivating reason you find in most of your agents?
Well, unfortunately, the motivating reason I think that most people get into real estate, so we're talking about brand new people coming from somewhere else and getting a real estate license. Unfortunately, they're getting in with three things in mind. So number one, they're going to have freedom of time. Number two, they're going to have unlimited income. And number three, they're going to be their own boss. Now, I will say the reason why I use the word unfortunately is because that's just a myth. Real estate agents, they're workaholics, so I don't know. There's really no freedom of time. And you can be your own boss, and we see how that works out most of the time. If we're going to be good at being our own bosses, we wouldn't have the high failure rate that we do in the industry. We need accountability. We need somebody to look over our shoulders. So when people are coming into this business thinking they're going to be their own boss, it's one of the reasons why the failure rate is so high. And unlimited income, again, it goes back to look at the average income of a real estate professional in the United States. It's actually all limited. But I still find that even though I show it to you that those are myths, those are the things that's drawing people to this industry. They just find out very quickly that what they thought they were going to get is not really there.
Right, right. So when someone comes to your office, how do you set the expectations for starting from scratch to be successful? Maybe you could share the questions you use to qualify prospective agents to see if they'd be good in your office, or how you set expectations up front before you start the discussion of if they should even sell real estate.
One of the first things that I do when somebody comes to me and says, hey, I'm thinking about selling real estate, or can I come and talk with you? I actually bring them into my office, and then I just throw them right in the middle of all of my other real estate agents, because we have a particular office, I call it the training center, where everyone comes in, and there might be, say, a group of agents working in the morning, every morning, Monday through Friday. I'll bring them in and just throw them right in there and just say, hey, why don't you hang out here for a while before we talk about what a real estate career is like and what you want to do? Why don't you just come and hang out with us? And they might do that for a day or so, or a couple hours for maybe 2 days in a row. And then from that point, if they still want to talk to me after that, and if our team feels good synergy with them, then I'll just sit down and talk to them, and then we'll go through some questions. But really, I'm looking for three things. One, do they have a desire to succeed? Two, are they coachable? And three, will they take a systematic approach?
Well, you say coachable. How do you know if someone is coachable?
Well, sometimes I'll ask them a question like, hey Joe, has there ever been a time when you played any sports? Yes? Okay, good. Tell me about a coach that you had, and then they'll go in and start telling me, well, I had this coach and he was really hard and he did this and he did this, but we won the championship. Well, just the fact that they've been within, even as a kid, that they've been involved in a coaching relationship, then now I know they understand and they respect the coach and player, authority, subordinate. So they've already got that grounded in them. Then they're going to fit really well, because that's who I am. I'm a coach.
Okay. So what are some of the ahs when somebody walks into that office of yours? Let's say they're a preschool teacher walking in there, or somebody that works for another broker that wasn't really doing the prospecting that your agents do. Which, we're going to get into that in a minute, but just tell me, so what are some of the things that just make them go, aha?
Well, I think it's more of a whoa, wow, this is what real estate's all about, you know? So first it's usually, I guess I would say almost like a shock. Almost like, oh wow, this is what realtors do. And then I share with them, no, it's not normal that realtors do that, but the reality is, if you're going to learn the business, you're going to have to learn how to generate. Our business is generation. And so the ahas are after they go through the shock, the aha becomes, oh, so I can actually control my own destiny. Yes, you can actually control your own destiny. See, those who generate, who know how to generate, which is what I teach everybody, if you learn how to generate, you're in control of your business. If you're sitting there waiting for someone else to generate, whether it be Paperclip, whether it be Zillow, whether it be any of these evaluation tools, all great tools, but if you're waiting for that, those tools control you. So if Zillow shuts down and all these people they're all on Zillow, where are their leads going to come from? They're going to be lost. So think about it. If you know how to generate, then you control your own business. If you're waiting for people to generate for you, then those people, they control you.
Well, we're going to get into all of these things that you do to generate, but before we do that, let's talk about that first meeting. So I show up at your office, I walk around, I had those ahas, you find that I'm coachable, I want to be successful. What's the first meeting like? You sit down and say, all right, you really want to do this? Let's talk.
I just let them go and listen to my other agents, you know, and then I say, hey, look, I'm going to be gone by the time you're done with this. Give me a call if you want to talk again. And then if they call, because not all of them are going to call. Some of them are going to say, this is just, it's not for me, right? I'm really not that serious about a career. So if they call back, then we sit down and I just start talking to them. What are you looking to accomplish? Why are you getting into real estate? What kind of goals do you have? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Can you see yourself prospecting? How do you feel about using scripts and dialogues? Do you have the financial ability to get into real estate? So that's really, you know, what the conversation is all about.
So when you're sitting down there and you're going over all that, do you go over any kind of expectations about what's achievable the first year? Because I know I've talked to some agents who said, I met with my broker and they said, it's not going to happen very quickly. And maybe I'll be lucky if I sell 4 through 6 homes a year. I mean, do you go over, if they do certain things, what they can expect and what kind of, to set up their mindset?
Yeah, so the way I approach it is like this. That's a great question. I approach it like this. So you know, Joe, I'm just kind of curious, what would you like to accomplish in your first year? Maybe your second year of business. And then you tell me, well, Jim, I'd like to make $100,000, or some people say $30,000. Some people say $200,000. Whatever the number is, I then say, okay, well, you know, that's attainable. Even if it's not realistic based on our averages in our industry, being realistic and being obtainable are two totally different things. See, it's obtainable as long as you're willing to do what it's going to take. So if you tell me you want to make $100,000 your first year, well, that's obtainable then. Now, the question is, are you willing to make the sacrifice necessary to make that happen? Now, most people, for $100,000 in their first year, they wouldn't be willing to make those sacrifices. I might tell them, this is just kind of a joke, but in order to make 100 grand, you have to contact 500 people a day. When they're like, no, there's no way I can do that. Then I say, I agree, unless you sacrifice all of your family time. And they're like, well, you know, I can't do that. And I say, okay, well, good then. So depending on what you say, I do believe we can write a business plan for you to reach what you want to reach. But I don't believe you will make the sacrifices that it's going to take to make every single goal. So that's kind of the route that I go.
Okay. So I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but We're going to get into the daily schedule and the scripting and what you do from day one here in a minute. But for now, let's just kind of jump back. As we kind of follow the storyline from starting in the very, very beginning in building a top producer, how do you even find those agents to recruit? Are they coming to you because of the activity and the buzz about your high producing agents?
Well, I think most of the people that come to me are coming to me because they want someone to help, to help develop their business. So what will happen is, in my market, people know that my apprentices and agents are able to close more deals their first year than at most other brokerages because of our processes. So that information gets out there in our market, whether it be through my centers of influence or whether it be other real estate agents. I get people call me that tell me, hey, my friend with XYZ company, which could be a competing company, told me that if I was going to go into real estate, that it has to be with you. So I get a tremendous amount of referrals. I'm not really going out there and doing heavy recruiting. It's very seldom. It's usually people are seeking me out. Now, that's also a very important part of the puzzle, because if they're seeking me out and my reputation is I can coach them, then they're already coming with the right mindset. Usually they're saying, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. That's usually what the interview is. Just tell me what to do. Somebody just told me that if I do what you say, then I will be okay.
Huh. Jim, do you work on mindset with the agents once you get going?
Every day working on mindset. I mean, the best way to work on others' mindsets is to work on your own mindset. So I have to be an example. And if I want people to be positive, then I surely better be. I better be the one that's in that office positive. And that stuff is really contagious.
Right. And are there certain things you guys do specifically to work on mindset, or is it different with each agent?
Joe, I'm constantly putting inspirational quotes in front of them, recommending books, or just setting them up with inspirational people in the industry to take a class from.
Okay, so you're constantly reminding them, honing in their mindset, and just keeping them focused like a sharp tool then.
Yeah, and I say something that's probably very effective, and it's much easier to understand when you're around me than it is to just hear about it, because it sounds kind of, confrontational. I will call you out on your negative mindset. If you've got a limited mindset, I will tell you about it. If you're sitting here telling me that you're trying to schedule 10 appointments this week, but you aren't making your 300 calls a day, I will remind you that those two things, they just don't go together. So I'm that guy. I'm the person that is keeping it real with you.
That's great. So let's get back to that meeting again. You recruit them. They shadow the office. They have the ahas. They're motivated. You have the first meeting. You make sure it's a good fit. And I would assume there's some point before that first day, you just help them sit down and write a business plan to get them to the goal that they want.
So I don't do it before the first day, no. I would say I don't really write a business plan until late in their apprenticeship, if they are in the apprenticeship program. If they are an experienced agent already and not in the apprenticeship program, then it would be after a couple of months of learning our processes.
Okay, so we're going to get into that because there's always a lot of questions on sample business plans. But for now, let's follow the storyline. After that first meeting, now what's next?
Okay, so if the agent is in the apprenticeship program, they have a 12-month, week-by-week syllabus to follow. And the first couple of weeks is very intense on technology and scripting and shadowing agents. If you are an experienced agent, the first couple of months, you will have a detailed syllabus. And again, the first couple of weeks are focused on learning the technology, the scripts, and shadowing our agents so they can quickly learn how our successful agents produce in our office.
Okay, and what do they learn from there? What's the next step after that?
So one of the things that they learn is when you hand somebody a script book and you say, okay, you need to learn these scripts, it's very intimidating, right? When you look at a script book, the script book is like, gosh, that doesn't sound too good. The way that it reads and the way that it sounds is it's totally different. So you've got these new agents reading these scripts, and it looks very intimidating when you look at the way these scripts are formulated. So when they're shadowing, they actually get to hear one of my agents who's already learned the scripts at a high level, and then they can actually see how it's applied in the real world. And then all of a sudden, they're not as intimidating anymore. And it's like, they're like, oh, well, that didn't sound that bad. That actually sounded pretty good. So we need to connect the two of these people confident so that they're going to be able to do this.
So that's about, what, 2 weeks of shadowing? Right?
Yeah, I mean 2 to 3 weeks, and everybody's different, you know. I'm not going to push somebody to move on too quickly. I do have to kind of understand that everyone's different. Some people might want more shadowing. I've got people that still shadow after a month, and that's okay. I mean, that's no big deal.
So how long from when you hire them, they're going through the training, now they actually get on the phones and say something, how long is that period?
I would say as quickly as 2 weeks and as long as 6 weeks. But they're not allowed to get on the phones until they understand the technology that they're using, and also until they have the scripts down pat.
Well, how do you know that they have the scripts down pat?
So I give them a Google Doc with scripts, and then they have to go and memorize those scripts. And then they have to do mock calls with agents in the office. Once they can demonstrate that they actually know the scripts in front of me, then I go ahead and sign off on them having their scripts down pat.
Nice. That sounds like a good test.
Well, the thing is, we owe it to the consumer. And I'm going to repeat that. We owe it to the consumer to know what the heck we're talking about. If you were to go get certified to operate on somebody, you wouldn't just get a license and operate. You have to actually go through a process. You practice on dummies before you go practice on humans. And so it's the same thing. In my opinion, if I haven't trained our agents, then we're doing the customer a disservice. We're managing hundreds of thousands of their dollars, in some cases millions of their dollars. And yet we send people out there in the real estate field and we allow them to just go start conducting real estate transactions with people, and they don't even know what the heck they're doing.
Yeah. So let's talk about the daily schedule. So let's say someone comes in and they actually decide to start working. Now how many, just to give perspective, all the agents in the office making calls, how many calls a day are the agents making?
Okay, so not everyone in the company calls. I mean, there's more people in my company that don't call every day than actually do call every day. So that is a myth that everyone has to call at my company. It's actually not the case. It's just that the ones they're the most committed to making the calls are also the ones that are producing at very high levels.
Okay, so let's talk about the daily schedule for somebody who does want to produce at high levels. They just started and I have my scripts down, I'm ready to rock, now what?
So you get on the phone and you're going to start calling around, let's say to a just sold house. And that's one of the first things that I'm going to teach you is how to call around a just sold. You have not personally sold anything, so you will have to take a sold that we've had in the company, and your script will be, we just sold. You won't say, I just sold, you're going to say, we just sold.
So that's just a Mike Ferry script?
Yeah, that's just a Mike Ferry script.
Which you can go to Mike Ferry's website and get that on a complimentary basis, right?
Yeah, you can download all of his scripts, for free on his website.
So going back, what is the schedule? You're saying just call, but are you requiring them? Maybe not requiring, but are you helping them to set up a schedule based on their goals? And let's say if somebody wants to sell 35 or 40 homes their first year or even 50, what kind of schedule would that look like? What would that look like?
Well, whatever the number is, the first thing that I say to a new agent is I say, tell me what's going on in your life. You have kids? Yes? Okay, well, how old are they? Oh, they're 8 years old. Okay. Well, who takes them to school? Oh, I do? Okay, good. Then I know right there, if they're taking their kids to school, we're going to have to schedule their life and then try to build a real estate business around it, okay? Because I can't tell this person to come in and role play at, say, 7:30 in the morning because they wouldn't be able to get there yet. So I'm really going to start looking at what's going on in their life and see what time do they have available to actually sell real estate. Once I have that information, then I take whatever available time, because if it's again after the honeymoon period of time, then their life is going to take priority. They may do whatever they have to do day one, to look good.
Right.
But on day 90, they're going to actually go back to whatever their real schedule is. So I want to go ahead and get that out on day one, and then I'll figure out what they need to do. But typically, somebody that does not have, these obligations in the morning, about 3 days a week, they're going to come in and they're going to practice with other agents for 30 minutes, role playing, practicing their scripts and dialogues, honing in on their skills before getting on the phone live. And then if there's somebody that's comfortable with prospecting at say 8 o'clock or 9 or whatever time we decide, then they're going to go ahead and get on the phone and start making some calls and see if they can find some listings. And they're going to do it for 3 solid hours. Once they stop, and then they're going to go and practice for 30 more minutes on role playing and skills so they can hone in their skills. They'll go to lunch, they'll come back. In the afternoon, they'll shadow other agents, do some additional shadowing, and they'll start working on other items in their training program, that we have customized just for them.
That's great. I mean, that's really great. So you're basically helping them customize it around their schedule, so there's some flexibility, but you also let them know and you keep it real and say, hey, if you have this goal, you need to put in this amount of time prospecting and stuff.
Well, yeah, depending on what their goal is. Yes, I will tell them what's going to be required. And again, if there's somebody that's not going to prospect, there are people out there that come straight into business. They say, I just want to do direct mail. And I say, hey, that's great, fantastic. So how many deals do you want to do? Well, if I could just do 20 deals a year, I'd be happy. Okay, good. Well, based on statistics, you're probably going to have to do this many direct mail pieces. It doesn't really matter what their generation strategy is. We can build a business plan to actually support their goal based on what they're comfortable doing.
So let's get to day 90. So they're just crushing the phones and they're following the plan and getting in the system for the first 90 days and doing what you shared, okay? Before we get into that business plan, is there any marketing taking place in that first 90 days? Or is it just 100% phones for this top producing agent story that you're telling here? Are they getting email addresses or anything like that?
So there's no marketing from the standpoint of no paid marketing. So I'm never going to ask a new agent or even suggest they need to start spending money on any type of marketing. But the thing about prospecting is we have to make X amount of calls to get one yes. But people never figured out what to do with all of the no's. So what I've trained them to do is when they get a no, I'm not thinking about selling. Then of course they ask them for the email address. And then they've got a script asking for that email address. And then they put it in the database. And once they put it in the database, then they're going to, or we as a company, we're going to then help them send out information. We use Infusionsoft, whereas people are clicking, we get notified when we start identifying leads. But the key is the entire time they're building that database up, because we know over the next year that's going to be a very critical component. Especially in year 2, they're going to get quite a bit of business, from that component. So they get a lot of that done. They're always going to be collecting email addresses, but that's something they do day 1 before they get on the phone. They're already trained on the importance of building a database. That's part of the training I do.
So the only marketing they're doing is getting email addresses and putting them in your system?
That is correct. Yeah, I don't want them to get bogged down in things. And first of all, they don't have the skills at this point. They don't have the skills to write the content. They wouldn't know the frequency or even about how consistent you have to be. So we're going to kind of take all of that on for them. I try to keep this very simple. I have my company, the infrastructure in my company is there to service and support the agent. And so if I can just get the agent doing generating activities, I will clean everything up. I just want them out there hunting. Go out there and hunt. You go out there and fish. Bring the fish in the boat. I will clean it. Our infrastructure will clean it. We'll cook it and we'll serve it right on a plate for you. But right now, you've just got to go out there and you've got to go out there and hunt.
Do you have a sample business plan you can share? What is a business plan and how does that plan take place?
So let me just say this. I use a very detailed business plan for myself, and I simplify it for the agent depending if they are a brand new agent with no past history or if they're an agent with some experience. I really only need to know how many days are you going to work, how many hours are you going to prospect, how many contacts are you going to make, how many appointments is your goal to set, how many listings are you going to take, how many buyer appointments are you going to go on, how many buyer deals do you want to do. And from that standpoint, if I just hold people accountable to those numbers right there, then everything else, everything else will work out.
That's really easy. So I've got a question here too. What do you really need to master to produce at a high level? I mean, what do these agents really need to be focusing on and mastering to produce? And it may be even more than one thing to really produce. But you may have agents that are at 25 to 30 deals, but what do agents really need to master to take it to that next level that most agents just really aren't willing to do?
Well, what they have to master is self-generation. They have to master how to generate leads. I say that because if they don't, then they're not in control of their business. If they do master it, they are in control of their business. People they just don't understand this. So what happens is before they master lead generation, here's what happens. Typical real estate agent gets into the business, and then right before they start prospecting, and then all of a sudden they get this email from some coaching company or some company that has this great widget that's going to change the business, and you're going to get all these listings and you're going to get all these contracts because you signed up for this $59 a month thing, right?
The secret sauce, right?
Yeah, exactly. The secret sauce.
The secret's revealed.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got to remember this. This new agent right now is working their butt off in the beginning, and they're not seeing a result because it takes time to generate momentum. And then all of a sudden, they've got these stories on the internet about all these people who see these instant results. So then what do? They go and sign up. And when they sign up for that tool too early, they stop generating. And then that's the end of their career. And then all they are is in a tailspin of spending money. I say master lead generation and then use all these tools to complement a solid foundation. I use a lot of tools, but I have a foundation that's built on self-generation, so those tools don't control me. They don't own me.
Right, so they need to master self-generation. But what do you think about boredom and repetitious behavior? Where does that fall in?
Well, the hardest thing about mastering lead generation is you have to actually master repetitious boredom. Some people say I don't want to be rejected, but I actually don't believe that. I don't really believe that's the case. Most people simply cannot focus on the boring for long periods of time. And if you can't master boredom, well then unfortunately you can't master lead generation. So they kind of go hand in hand. It is probably the most critical mental thing that you have to master.
I would say that comes back to mindset, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's all mindset, yeah.
You've got to have the right mindset and know that if you're doing this, you've got to be in the mindset. I mean, what would that mindset be? I know what my mindset used to be, but what is yours or what was yours?
Well, what I've done is I look at people that we would call legends, If you look at legends as somebody that's great at what they do, if you look at legends, and typically most legends have already, passed away. They're not still alive, okay? But if you look at them, what they did is some simple things, but they were so stubborn, they did it their entire life. Take, for example, Michael Jordan. Obviously, whether you call him a legend or not, well, he is a legend. I mean, what did he do? One day he's in a game, he closes his eyes, and he just shoots a free throw and makes it, I mean, how boring, how boring it must have been, how many years he spent shooting free throws to get into a position to be able to close his eyes in a game and have the confidence, to sink that shot. He mastered repetitious boredom. How many things did he miss as a kid because he walked on the court every single day, and he played ball?
Right.
And, that works whether it's a sports star, in the arts, or if it's people that have done amazing things, say with, philanthropy. You'll see that they all mastered something, and it was probably boring. So keep that in mind. I've got to be like them.
Yeah, okay. I think what you've got to find that why, because I used to call expired listings every day. I mean, hours hours, right? And my mindset and my belief was like, I'm the best agent to help these people because they got a raw deal the first time. So my mindset was, if I don't keep calling and dealing with the no's, then hey, I'm not ready right now, and why are you the 20th agent freaking calling me?
Right.
My mindset was like, I would be doing them a disservice, because if I didn't keep calling them, because they'd get stuck with another deadbeat agent that gave them some false information, and that's why their home didn't sell. So that's what kept me going every day. So you've got to find the why. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, of course, for sure, totally.
So here, let me throw this one out. It's not just the script. It's how you communicate and how you respond and engage and listen to them. So the Mike Ferry scripts, they work?
You know, the reality is every coaching company's scripts actually work. It's really more about, the delivery than it is about the actual script itself.
I agree. So, quick question. Why have your agents prospect? Why not just have them be closers? Have inside or outside sales prospectors and pass those leads off to the agents to close the deal?
Well, yeah, I mean, we could do that. We could do that, but I really just don't believe in it. My company is a coaching company. My job as an owner of my coaching company, which, hear me clearly, I own a few offices, not a formal coaching company, but I think of my company as a coaching company, and the agents that work for me actually are hiring me to coach them. I'm in the business development industry. My job is to develop people who want to get into the real estate agent business, develop them as top producers, and help them reach, these amazing goals. That's the business I'm in. The question, which is a great question, of why not just do that? Well, that would be me being in the real estate business and being a producer and just trying to do a bunch of deals. And that's just not really the business that I'm in. I'm not saying somebody can't do that, but that's not the business I'm in. I'm in the agent development business.
And they would no longer be generators, like you said earlier. They'd be dependent on you, and then if they ever moved on, you're actually helping them build sales skills they can take into another sales industry, because you're teaching them how to generate, and actually you're teaching them sales skills that can be applied anywhere.
Joe, it always comes back to what's my intention. My intention is to develop other people. And so I believe that wealth is created when you help enough other people generate wealth.
Okay, well, so speaking of that, we were talking about a second ago, what are your feeling on call centers?
Call centers, in a way, I've got my agents calling every morning. I mean, do I have a call center? No, I don't have a call center. Have I inspired real estate agents to get up every morning and generate business for themselves? Yes, I have. Is that what a call center does? I believe that because I'm developing these agents and I'm listening to them every single day. I believe that my conversation will be superior, to any call center that's actually out there.
Okay. So how much of your business is internet related from your website, and what kind of marketing do you do, such as online SEO, pay-per-click, paid ads, etc.?
Yeah, so from the buyer side of the business, a ton of that's coming off of the internet. So I jumped on when I created my website. I really got involved in SEO. So years ago when I built my site, I didn't go the pay-per-click route, but eventually I added pay-per-click into my internet plan. So I do both organic and pay-per-click, depending on how many leads we want to generate. On average, we generate 400 to 500 leads a month, but I invested a lot of money in SEO and building the website to get there.
Okay. So people ask, do you do door knocking?
So, door knocking is one of the processes that we teach our agents, but it requires long-term commitment to be effective.
Okay. So who would a brand new agent call when prospecting to start building their database? Where would they get that info?
So they would call around. Maybe another agent just sold in the office. They have another agent who probably sold something, hopefully. Then they would pull up a list out of Mojo Sells, let everybody know that, hey, this just sold, and when one sells, two more sell right away. So when do you plan on moving?
Okay. So expireds and for sale by owners, those are great too, right?
Yeah, totally great.
Okay. So you use Infusionsoft. Do each of the agents in the office have their own Infusionsoft, or do they use that software in their business in some way?
Okay, so I have an Infusionsoft account myself. And then each of my agents has a user account within my master account. So that's the way that as they're building their database, then I can create content and distribute it to all of those databases at one time, but individually branded to the individual agents' names. So it's not just branded with me, it's branded with them. But to do that, they have to be users of my account.
So you sit down and write unique pieces of content, and then that will be sent out for how many accounts in your Infusionsoft?
Each agent has one.
Okay, wow. So nobody has to go through and copy and paste that info into each different email template with each agent's branding on top. Infusionsoft sends all that out, a newsletter or a piece of copy with their branding to their own lists. So when you're an agent in Jim's office and you put the email in the database, educational messages come from you with your branding out to your own list automatically. Is that correct?
Yep, that's absolutely correct.
Okay, well, what about new agent training? I mean, could someone experience that but not be an agent in your office? Like the whole 60-day plan, is that something they could get without being an Amen real estate agent?
I'm not sure. If they were just a random agent, you mean, is someone asking, can they get involved in that? No, that's proprietary, basically just for my agents.
So just for your agents?
That's my secret sauce.
Fair enough, fair enough. Okay, so I got another question. Can you go over your expired system? Do you use mailings or is it all just phone calls?
Well, yeah, we do some mailings. We're not a big mail company, but I would be lying to say that we don't strategically do some mailers. It's just a very small portion of what we do. We're making calls and we are working these databases. That's really what we're doing.
Okay.
And we've also got a lot of buyer business. You've got to remember, we do hundreds of buyer leads every week.
Okay. I do want everyone to know that they can go to your website. What's your website?
www.amenrealestate.com.
Okay. I've got a question. You probably train these guys up, they start doing a lot of production, and then their egos start to get out of control. How do you keep their ego in check and get them to stay focused without thinking that they're bigger than they really are?
Yeah, I'll tell you first of all, when somebody's ego is out of control, usually they're focusing on their results, so they're not looking at their result. They're not looking at their process. So when somebody says, oh man, I just sold X amount of deals this year, first thing I look at, and I'm like, well, what does that mean? Who cares? I mean, X amount of deals. You know how many people are doing that many deals now? So I just go right at them and I say, so what does that mean? And instead of measuring your results, and instead of looking at how good you are, let's look at what your daily activity. Let's look at what you're doing. You realize that you're not doing this and you're not doing that. I mean, what life could be like if you would actually just get focused, And if you want to have a big ego, go ahead. It typically doesn't happen in our office, though, as we're more focused on helping each other succeed. It's just not the culture here. The culture is not to have a big ego. The culture in our office is everyone's trying to help the other agents. The other agents. We're really like a team. It's as close to a family as you can get outside of your home. When a rookie comes in, a new agent comes in my office, you'll see all the top producers are going up to that person. They're saying, hey, go ahead and call me. Here's my cell phone number. If you have any questions, you need some help, you need to negotiate something, you need me to go on a listing appointment, everyone's actually, trying to help each other. And I think that keeps a lot of the egos in check.
Oh, so the more experienced, your top producing guys are sharing and masterminding with them and reaching out and helping.
Yeah, exactly. Because you've got to remember, my top producers were just that person not long ago.
Okay, yeah, I get it.
They owe it to repay that, to the newer agents, right?
Yeah, I agree. So how do you find time to coach and manage agents, plus still be a top producing realtor yourself?
Yeah, so first of all, I've prospected. Now I've been in the business for a long time. And I was a prospector before I was even licensed because I was a prospector when I was a director of marketing prior to my real estate career. So I've been prospecting, for all of my professional life. I've got databases that produce a lot of business for me. So all of my business, I'm not out there calling on expireds anymore. Today, I do not do that. I haven't done that in years. But I'm still getting calls every day, or at least every week, and taking listings. So what I do is while my staff or my agents, I should say, are in the office in the morning calling, I'm in there with them. I return the calls and emails. So what ends up happening for 3 hours a day, I'm actually generating. I just don't have to do the calling part. I'm just presenting. So all my agents get to hear me present every day. So I'm actually multitasking. While I'm earning, I'm actually coaching. So that's about 15 hours worth of coaching every single week that I'm putting in by just letting everyone observe me. Very important. So being an example, and I'm leveraging myself.
That's great. Also, you mentioned earlier that you worked so hard and got your database system set up and your content so legit that those deals, the majority of them are just inbound contacting you versus you contacting them.
Yeah, exactly. They're inbound now.
So I wanted to keep that in mind where you're not grinding it out every day to get those deals. They're just coming to you and you're just coaching. And when you follow up with those people, that's a coaching opportunity for the office.
Yeah, so I know the subject is creating top producers, so it's very important to understand that when an agent comes to my office, whether a brand new agent or maybe they're an agent doing, say, 20 deals a year, and then they want to double or triple that, I'm thinking day one that they're going to have to work their butt off. Part of it is so they can make money quickly, but another part of it is so they can build a database quickly. So here's what's going to happen. On day one, they're going to be calling and calling and calling, and they're going to be building their database. And then they get nothing from their database because it takes a while for that to mature, okay? But they're going to call some more, build a database, call some more, build that database, call some more, and build that database. While they're calling, their skills are getting better and better and better. Now they're starting to get business. They're getting business from their calling. Year one, they're getting business from their calling, but no business from their database. Year two, they're getting more business from their calling, some business from their database. In year three, they're getting more business from their calling, a lot of business from their database. Year four, they're getting more business from their calling, a ton of business from their database. Year five, they're a top producer. See, it takes time and focusing on the calling. You'll make all your money from the calling in the beginning, but the database is going to mature. You're going to meet up around the fourth and fifth year, and both things are going to be like two powerful engines working. You've got inbound people calling you, and you're still making calls. Combine those two things together, and now you've got a top producer.
Great.
That is just so critical.
Because they're building their database, and it's very important for the long term, and they've got to be patient, right?
Yes, exactly.
But can you go just a little bit deeper on the importance of what they're sending? Because people are watching this and they say, hey, I'm building the database and I'm going to send them stuff. And like I said earlier on, most people aren't sending very good stuff. So can you just hit on that? How important is that to send good stuff?
I mean, Joe, really it's everything. Because see, when it comes to databases, if you call somebody, you know how quickly somebody can hang up on you if they don't actually want to listen to you. Well, think about how fast they can delete your email. They can delete your email even faster. So the critical thing about the internet and database marketing is people have the power. People are in control. So if it doesn't have value, they're not going to listen no matter what. And so people are opting out, unsubscribing, claiming things are spam every single day. And what that means is that whatever you sent, they saw no value. So you have to think about this. Don't think of yourself as being the sender of content. Think of yourself as being the receiver of content. Every time you create an email, ask yourself, did that matter to you? Did that make a difference to your life? Was it relevant to you? And if the answer is no, if you're creating emails because you've got to check that item off your list, don't send it. You need to create an email where you look at it and say, holy cow, man, I need to do this myself, or this was information I needed to know. Once you have that, then send it. And that's the key in our society right now. People are just using email as a way to promote. So what you have to do is use emails as a way to educate. The person who will give will actually receive, but most people build emails to get, not to give.
Yeah, I would agree with that. They're sending all this garbage just to touch them, drip on them, but they're not educating and they're not giving these people anything except filling up their damn email box. So yeah, I agree. If you're educating, you're also building and producing.
Exactly. And people, they don't want to be touched.
No, they want to be educated. We are running out of time, but just a couple more items. I think the only thing that people probably want to know, if I had to choose, is, compensation in some way. I mean, how does an agent get paid in your office? What are the splits? I think that's a pretty typical question.
Yeah, there are splits that range just like any other company. It could be 30-70, 50-50, 80-20. Splits are one of these conversations everybody wants to know. What's the split? You know what? Here's the reality. It's all about the net. It's all about the net. It's not about the split. It's about net. But to answer the question, I'm just like any other company in town. Am I a 100% split? Absolutely not. But my split will be relative to what I have to actually contribute. If I don't have to contribute anything, hey, go out there, make all the money, give me a little bit of it, cool. But if I'm practically going to make the business for you, then I'm going to, I'm going to be rewarded for it.
Right.
And then over time, as you become more self-sufficient and it's taking less of my involvement, then obviously the financials will adjust accordingly.
Oh, okay, great. So I just wanted to remind everybody, if they want to find out more about database marketing and email, they can contact you directly at jim@amenrealestate.com.
Yeah, or if they know anybody that wants to get into real estate, hey, I'm here. I'm looking for someone else to develop right now, actually.
All right, awesome. Thanks for taking the time to talk with us today, and that's all for now. See you all you guys next time.